This is The Front Stretch on AM 590, brought to you by Joe's Karting, online at joeskarting.com.
This is Turn 2, fully stocked by the Party Pantry, located just off the beaten path in Council Bluffs. The Party Pantry's got some great prices on beer, food, and fuel, plus so much more. They're located on 35th and 5th Avenue, right off the beaten path. It's time to find a gas station that doesn't break the bank. Something I want to talk to you guys just real briefly about. We've seen some gas price hikes. Talk to me a little bit about what it costs you guys, not only to race the night of your guys' events, but also getting there and back. With the hike in the gas prices, give me an idea of what it costs per week just in fuel.
Well, you got to think, us guys, we're usually using diesel trucks, so they're going to use a lot more gas to get in and out of there. I usually spend about $300 a week going to my 2 hometown tracks.
And what are those 2 tracks?
McCool Junction and I-80 Speedway.
Okay. Bud?
Now, with me, I'm racing Eagle Raceway and Crawford County Speedway out of Denison, Iowa, and I know now Party Pantry is one of my sponsors. They sponsor me with some fuel, but with that being said, if I'm paying for fuel out of my pocket, it's easily going to be $150, $200 each night. So now, Andrew's at $300 a week. That's $1,200 a month. Now I'm at $300 to $400 per weekend. So now I'm at $1,200 to $1,600. Thank God for Party Pantry for coming on board with us. They've been with us last year, and then this year, if Andrew goes to Kansas or Missouri, or if I go to I-80, which I will for the Cornersker Classic or maybe the Charlie Clark, well, then the fuel cost can even get bigger. I mean, the farther we go out, the more we spend. But,
right.
It's killer, and I believe that with the way the diesel prices and gas prices are going, and I would think you'd have to agree with us on me with this, Andrew, it's going to park a lot of teams.
It's going to park a ton of teams. I know a lot of the smaller guys that just are happy to get 4 tires to get out to the track. Now what are they going to do in that to spend as much as I do a week to go racing?
Our fuel bill just to get to the track is almost as much as some of our engine programs.
Jeez.
Yeah, that's, we could buy, a $3,500 crate motor, a $4,000 604 crate motor, but you're going to spend $10,000 just driving around to get the stuff and to go to the track racing.
This is Turn 2, and as always, we break down the NASCAR races, talk about what was and what's going to be this coming weekend. Let's talk a little bit about Phoenix International Raceway for the Subway Fresh Fit 500. I love those sponsor reads. First caution came out pretty quickly, lap 16. Clint Boyer cuts down a tire, comes into the pits, gets it fixed, gets out there, makes 1 or 2 laps, and then it goes down again, and he taps the wall. Odd little thing. Have you guys ever had something like that happen or seen something like that happen where it obviously was a rub of some sort that they didn't catch the first time he came in? Has that happened to you guys before?
It happens quite a bit, especially in our cars. When you break a tire, you're going to hit the wall usually first. Well, I have a strap actually on the right front, and I've had times where I've wrecked, hit the wall, that strap come loose, got the tire changed, went out there, strap rubbed, blew another tire out, and I had to get that fixed before I could fix the tire.
In the dirt track world, I think a lot of guys battle with this. We'll put on a fresh set of tires on the cars, and we'll go out there and we're going to take some laps. And I've had this happen to me twice last year. You're going to run something over in the track, slice a tire, cut a tire down. You're going to put a brand new tire on, make a quick pit stop, go right back out. And 2 laps later, you run over the exact same thing. The sad thing is you can't always see it because it's little shards of metal or little shards of aluminum in the dirt. And a lot of times during the intermission, you'll see Andrew and I and the rest of the drivers will actually walk the track. And when you see us bend down, we're not bending down to touch our toes and do exercise. We're actually bending down and we're pulling, lug nuts or sheet metal or glass or something out of the track, so it doesn't cut our tires down. But when that happens, it's definitely frustrating.
Jimmy Johnson, let's talk a little bit about his day. I tell you what, he looked good. He looked kind of like a guy who'd been under a little scrutiny during the week and kind of wanted to say, hey, we may have gotten caught by NASCAR by what you think we were cheating, but we're pretty damn good.
I say he was the fastest car all day, actually. Towards the end there, he kind of screwed up. I think Jimmy Johnson was the fastest car, and he's just going to keep improving.
The one thing we have, and I do want to correct our listeners out there, the one thing we did mention last week on the front stretch is the suspension for Chad Knaus.
Right.
Now, Chad Knaus, he's got the suspension looming pending the appeal with NASCAR.
Yeah, he's appealed the suspension, so he's going to be allowed to continue to sit on the pit box until that suspension is heard, which by the time this airs on Sunday morning, it may have been heard by that time. no real sign of when NASCAR's going to listen to it, and then if they're going to uphold it, if they're going to reduce it, what's going to happen. But yeah, they are a very determined team. This is something we talked about last week, and we said that this suspension may be a good thing for that team because it's going to give them that push that they are looking for, that real drive that they need. And I tell you what, they got it. Jimmy comes back and finishes fourth in the race today, last weekend. And he actually jumps 12 places in the points, gets up into positive territory, and is looking to be pretty good this weekend.
He's got a lot of work to do, but he'll be a chase contender. So
he's one of the drivers, and I think one of the very few drivers that can do it. Race kind of settles in there. Tony Stewart has a little bit of an issue with, as we've come down to the end, he's trying to save fuel. And this is something we're going to expand quite a bit more in turn 4, so I'm only going to touch on it. He shuts the car off to save fuel, can't get it refired. He ends up getting pushed into the pits. So Stewart's day's done. He's 2 laps down, and he was one of the guys that could have a possibility of winning that race into the top 5. As his teammate, the 39, Ryan Newman, is having a good day, and Carl Edwards is getting kind of close to him. They're racing pretty good. Edwards is underneath. Newman's on the top part of the lane, and Edwards gets a little bit loose, takes out the 39, spins him and backs him into the wall. His day is done. And Newman kind of had some mixed responses this week and after the race to where he basically said he understands that Carl didn't do this on purpose, but almost told Carl, make sure your stuff's together when you're around me next time because I'm going to spin you. Have you guys ever had that happen at a track to where I'm sure this happens every race? To where not even your fault, you tap somebody, send them into the wall, their day's over with, and they're pretty irate at you because you just ruined their car, but it really wasn't your fault, and they kind of retaliated to you the next week or two.
Well, the driver that ends up getting wrecks, always thinking that he's the one that got screwed. Somebody else did that to me. It could have been like it was. Carl did not mean to spin him out. His car just got a touch loose, but of course, Newman in the back of his head wants to take it out on somebody, so he goes, I'm going to come after you, but I don't see Newman doing it next week.
Have you ever had any retaliation done on you, or have you ever retaliated?
I don't want to say I've retaliated before.
You don't want to admit it, or you don't want to say it?
I don't want to admit it. I might have done it once or twice, but I have had people come down and say, I'm going to junk your car next week. They might run in the back, you might run into your door, but they usually don't junk your car, but I have seen it done before.
I've had quite a bit of, coming my way, and we're not going to go in depth on air here. And I've actually given the retaliation attack, quote unquote. But a lot of the times, nobody wins when you do that. Now, like Andrew said, it doesn't matter if you're in Cup or if you're in a late model or a modified or a sprint car. The guy that, especially in dirt, the guy that, is caused or gets involved in a caution and goes to the back, he automatically assumes that someone took him out on purpose. I don't care who you are. Nobody sits in a car and goes, I think just for the heck of it, I'm going to go take Andrew Kaziski out. We put too much blood, sweat, time, and tears and money into what we do. A lot of times in dirt track racing, if Andrew's got a part laying around that you need to go run the feature to go race against him, possibly beat him, he's the kind of guy that's going to say, well, hey, take my wires, take my water pump, let's just get you going. But at the same time, it does happen. We won't go into stories on air here because I don't think it would be PG rated enough.
This kind of stuff happens on the dirt track level just as much as it happens on the Sprint Cup and the Nationwide and the NASCAR circuit. You guys are out there racing your butts off. You've poured your blood, sweat, and tears into these cars, and whether it's the other driver's fault or not, they get loose, they get into you, they ruin your day, and you've had to go out there and take care of business the next weekend or later on down the line. Have you guys ever had any conversations with IMCA to where they've been saying, hey, listen, let's knock this crap off?
Oh, I've had times where race directors have came down before. Not really to me. I've never had I really don't retaliate as a driver. I don't have the time or the money to ruin my stuff because if you try to retaliate, usually you wreck yourself instead of the other person worse. But I've seen a lot of times where drivers or directors will send somebody to the back during the race, send them back a few spots. But I've had a lot of times people come down, you need to quit laying on these people. You need to quit going in the corner and driving into them or we're going to park you.
Yeah.
And the one thing I've noticed, there are guys that do retaliate by putting you in the wall, taking you out, spinning you out. Most of them, I think all they want to do is spin you out, make you go a lap down or something like that. But, a lot of times when they try that, especially the rookies, and they get mad at the older, more veteran drivers. They try to spin you out, and they'll actually tear your car up. But the one thing I've noticed is you'll see 2 20-year vets in the sport, and the one guy's going to get mad. The other guy's going to, say, I'm sorry. The other guy's going to be mad, and he's not going to do nothing. All they're going to do is talk. And to me, that shows a sign of maturity. And I've done some bad stuff. I've done some good stuff on the track, and I've come down, and it taught me, these guys chewed my rear end out pretty bad, but they're not going to go out and tear their equipment up or tear my equipment up. And to me, that was a sign of maturity right there.
They'd rather take care of it in the pits rather than on the track.
Yeah. And the last thing, if Andrew and I are racing against each other, the last thing that we want to do is have a personal beef and create drama in front of the fans. Because you never know in those grandstands at I-80, who's your next sponsor? Who's out there watching you? So, when the lights are shut off, we've done gone home, Monday night, Andrew's going to call me, and he's going to say, what the hell were you thinking, bud? And I'm going to be like, I'm sorry.
I do that every Monday anyway, Dan.
So he's going to call me, or I'm going to call him, and that's what the mature veteran drivers do.
Yeah. A great day for Joe Gibbs Racing as all 3 of his cars finish in the top 10. We talked about this a little bit. Darian Grubb obviously has that organization, that team pointed in the right direction. And then the 18 and the 20 both had good days. Joey Logano has struggled, but he seems to have turned it around this year. Didn't have a great Daytona 500. Obviously got wrecked, but he's turned it around at Phoenix, and we're going to see what he can do coming up this weekend. Hamlin wins at Phoenix, and before all of that happened, we didn't get a chance to talk about it last week. Actually, we couldn't talk about it last week. A little known secret about the front stretch, we're actually recorded on Wednesday nights. And Thursday morning of last week is when Penske announced that they would be leaving Dodge. So Sunday morning, when all of you were listening to the front stretch, you may have been thinking, why aren't these guys talking about it? Well, unfortunately, because of timing schedules, we have to record the show on Wednesday nights, so we bring you the news as fast as we can, but sometimes we just can't get to it. If you do want some late breaking news, make sure to join us on our Facebook page. We'll keep you up to date there. But let's talk a little bit about the consequences for Dodge, as Penske has announced that they'll now be parting ways with Dodge. This is kind of a blow to Dodge. This effectively leaves them with one race car, and that's Robbie Gordon's organization.
I don't think, with Robbie Gordon, he's not exactly setting the world on fire, but right now, as of this second, Dodge is in a bad spot, but I don't think Dodge is going to get out of the sport by no means. They're still going to be a contender. They're still going to get races won. A lot of times, even in our dirt track racing world, sometimes your greatest shining moments come right after the darkest moments in your career. Now, I don't see them no longer being a part of NASCAR, but when they come back, they'll come back with a vengeance, and they're going to have a big name driver. They're just going to have a big name driver overall. Robbie Gordon, I don't think is the guy that can get it done. Now, he is a racer at heart. He's a dang good racer at heart, but he's just not your Patrick. He's not an Earnhardt. He's not a Allmendinger. He's not a Keselowski. He's not that tier of driver in the Cup Series. But I don't think this is really going to hurt him as much as what a lot of people think. I mean, yeah, right now it's a bad blow, but they'll bounce back from this. I mean, not having Dodge in NASCAR is like saying Petty's not a force to be reckoned with in NASCAR.
Yeah, that's going to be an absolute travesty if Dodge gets run out of NASCAR. And unfortunately, it just simply comes down to the fact that Dodges haven't been performing lately.
Well, they don't have a big enough engine.
No, and last season, Kurt Busch and Brad Keselowski, both in Dodges with the Penske organization, both made the chase, and they both won races. But when you look at the leaderboards at the end of the year, I can't even remember the last time Dodge won a manufacturer's championship. And they haven't even been close because they don't have near the drivers and the in the organizational structure that Chevy, Ford has, and Toyota is working on building.
I don't, with NASCAR being the number one watch spectator sport in America, right? Or second, right behind football and whatnot. I don't see them alienating their loyal Dodge customers in NASCAR. They're going to come back with a game plan. They're going to regroup. They're going to come back, and they're going to have a new Darian Grubb, to so to speak, guy at the helm, and they're going to reinvent the Dodge name and the Dodge brand. And when they come back, I'm telling you, they're going to be good.
They've definitely got work to do in the offseason to secure some more drivers for hopefully the 2013 season, maybe even the 2014 season. So hopefully Dodge will be able to rebound off of this.
Oh, absolutely.
NASCAR also announced this week that they're going to be adding an extra pace car under the caution flag to help let drivers know that we're under caution. Pardon me if I seem like I'm mocking. Do you really think that would have helped the 42 not hit the jet dryer if there was a second pace car out there with flashing lights saying, hey, you're under caution?
No.
No, definitely not. Them drivers are out there to do what they have to do. I don't even think they pay attention if there's a wreck on the track. I mean, Juan was out there just testing. I don't think he meant to do it, but, he was just getting up to speed. He was trying to get to the back of the field. He was just trying to catch the field before they went to the green flag. You've got lights that flash all around that track into every turn. I mean, there's so many lights that are on that track that are flashing yellow. There's the lights. Okay, the fact that there is a jet dryer in front of you is a pretty good hint that you're under caution. I don't think this is a necessary move.
You've got spotters in your head telling you, hey, jet dryer right in front of you.
Yeah.
I mean, and I've said this before. He's a professional race car driver. Like him or hate him, I don't care either way. He's a race car driver. He's not doing this on purpose. It was a mechanical issue in the rear end. So what happens if Danica hits the wall this week at, today here at Las Vegas? Do we go get a third pace car?
They're going to have to change the wall.
I mean, we're going to have the pace car series going on now. So.
Well, the way she's been hitting the last couple of times that she's been wrecked, they may have to change out the wall.
They're going to have to do something for her.
NASCAR was a little bit more proactive, though, and they're implementing some changes, and we could see this coming. When the jet dryer driver is what you want to call him, when he was pulled out of the car, he was in blue jeans and a T-shirt. So now NASCAR has said, no more. You guys have to be in fire suits. You have to have helmets. And they're also looking at the design of the jet dryers.
Now that I totally agree with. I think anytime you're driving around with 200 gallons of jet fuel, it seems like it's a very controlled environment, but you do have cars. Even at Daytona, Talladega, you're out there under a yellow. You're still cruising around there 60, 70, 80 mile an hour. I mean, you even hit one of those things at 70, 80 mile an hour, you're going to have an explosion. You're going to have a fire. So anytime that you're on the track, and there's race cars present rolling, I think, we can't short side on the safety. We have to make sure that these guys are safe. I applaud the effort actually on behalf of NASCAR.
And some people may, I'm not saying I've ever heard this, but some people may say that this should have changed. This should have been something already implemented. I can't disagree with that comment anymore. Who would have ever thought that a jet dryer would have been run into by a car under caution? That was something that, since NASCAR has implemented the jet dryers, hasn't even come close to happening. And I guarantee you, if it ever would have, NASCAR would have said, ooh, we kind of need to look at this, and we need to pay attention to it, and we need to make sure it's safe. But that happened. Thank God everyone walked away safe, and now NASCAR has implemented some changes.
This may not be the best comparison, but, Andrew, you go down to Kansas City. We've been down to Kansas City during the Cup race, and when they're on pit road and you got the fuel guy, filling the back of the cars up in a pit stop, how many cars have you really seen go up in flames on fire on pit road? I personally can't remember any time.
I can't remember the last time I saw any cars go up in flames. Some of the safety features they've got up in the Cup Series, I can't remember the last time I saw one.
But what I'm saying is you're holding, 30 gallons of fuel right there, and you got a helmet and a fire suit on, but, we haven't, the guy hauling 200 gallons of jet fuel in a jet around the track, we're not making him wear the safety apparel. And we need to make him wear the safety apparel.
I want to point this out. There are catchy names for a lot of things that are on the NASCAR track that don't actually have to do with the name. This is something that when we say it's a jet dryer, that is exactly what it is. It is a old jet engine that was slightly converted to point down onto the track and dry these tracks off. This is 100% a jet engine that was used to rocket people to space, or at least attempt to back when it was invented. But that's exactly what it is. It is a jet that is mounted onto a trailer that is then towed around by a truck. There's not much to these things. So to NASCAR's credit, they're looking at it and they're saying there's got to be a way we can make these things a little bit more safe. Also this week, Infineon just announced that they will be dropping naming rights to Sonoma. We're going to be headed to Sonoma in about 2 months on the NASCAR circuit, and this ends a 10-year contract that Sonoma had with Infineon Technologies, and Sonoma has since said that they are exploring finding new track sponsorship. But now this leaves, if they can't find somebody, this now leaves Auto Club in Fontana as the only track on the NASCAR circuit that has track title sponsorship. Is there any kind of sponsorships like this stuff in the dirt track world, or are any tracks like that sponsored?
Probably the biggest one in the Midwest, Lucas Oil Speedway, which is Wheatland. It used to be called Wheatland Speedway. Forrest Lucas came in there, bought the track out. So whenever you do go to that track, that one brings to my mind first is Lucas Oil Speedway. So yes, there is in the dirt circuit.
And where's that at again?
That's Wheatland, Missouri.
Okay.
That is probably one of the top-notch premier facilities for any classes to race. When you go to Lucas Oil Speedway, I don't care if you're in a Southern Sport mod or a late model or a sprint car or an A mod or whatever. When you say I've raced Lucas Oil Motor Speedway, that's a resume catcher right there.
I just want to say when I went there, I give them a lot of credit. Driving around that racetrack, it feels like you're at a NASCAR track. There's stands all the way around except turns 1 and 2. There's a TV screen up there, so you can almost watch yourself race. I mean, it's a facility just being amazing to drive around. It's pretty cool.
This is kind of another sign about how sponsorship dollars are becoming ever so important. The economy seems to be coming back a little bit, but I still see a lot of big sponsorships are kind of tightening their belts. There's a lot of raceways that are looking for sponsorships. We've talked about it in the past about how drivers are looking for sponsorships. It's an unfortunate thing that our racing world could see some effect in the next 5 years if this stuff doesn't start to turn around a little bit more. But hopefully Infineon will be able to rope in some new sponsorship and keep a trend alive.
Oh yeah, I don't see them not having a track title. You know, their contract is up this May. You know, I bet you before the season is done, if not before the end of May, you're going to see a new track title sponsor.
I bet you they will too, just because the tracks that are road course kind of tracks, they're actually more people. The more foreigners really like that track, and that's really a lot of the big name sponsor IndyCar drivers will get. So somebody will get in there and they'll pick up a road course track, maybe not Texas Motor Speedway. I
was kind of surprised at this fact when I was reading about it. That contract for a 10-year deal for Infineon to sponsor the racetrack at Sonoma, $34.4 million for the 10 years.
Holy smokes.
Maybe I'm just a little bit crazy. I kind of felt like that was a little bit low.
Yeah.
I thought that was low.
Okay.
I've seen 30, 40 million just to sponsor, to put a little decal on Gordon's car.
Yeah, I was going to say, that seemed really low.
Yeah. Well, that is turn 2. We're going to talk a little bit later about the EFI setup in turn 4 with Andrew. And then just around the corner, we've got Dan Crawford on the phone, the race director for Beatrice Speedway. Make sure you stay tuned for that. We're going to have a great interview with him. It's turn 2, fully stocked by the Party Pantry, located just off the beaten path in Council Bluffs. The Party Pantry's got some great prices on beer, food, and fuel, plus so much more. They're located on 35th and 5th Avenue, right off the beaten path. It's time to find a gas station that doesn't break the bank. Stay tuned. It's the front stretch right here on AM 590, Omaha's ESPN Radio.
Hi, I'm Buddy Ray, driver of the number 25 Party Pantry Modified. When I'm headed to the track or my family needs a fill-up, we all head down to the Party Pantry, locally owned and operated just off the beaten path in Council Bluffs on 35th and 5th Avenue. Party Pantry has some of the area's best prices on food, snacks, beer, and gas, and has a great liquor selection. So stop by and see the whole crew at 35th and 5th Avenue in Council Bluffs, just off the beaten path, where you're treated like family with a name and you're not just a stranger.
Are you ready for fast-paced, adrenaline-pumping, wheel-to-wheel racing right here in the Metro? Get to Joe's Karting in Council Bluffs and see what it's like to race real go-karts. Joe's Indoor Karting knows it's no fun to race go-karts at 10 miles an hour, so they ripped the governors out, and now the only restriction is how good you are at racing. It's full-throttle, white-knuckle racing every day of the week. Head over to joeskarting.com for hours, prices, and specials, or give Buddy a call today and set up your group races at 712-256-3075.